Trump proved that again last summer, because we can recall that when Israel, with U.S. support, bombed Iran, which was on the 12th and 13th of June, 2025, that was 2 days before scheduled negotiations between the United States and Iran. So this whole idea that this is about Iran negotiating is phony. This is a regime change operation that's being carried out through hybrid warfare, meaning you try cyber warfare, you try street unrest, you try crushing the economy, and you try bombing, you try assassinations. They're trying in every which way to overthrow this government. And Trump, being Trump, blasts this out, that, well, if you don't do what we say, this is like Venezuela. What does it say? This fleet is ready, willing, and able to rapidly fulfill its mission with speed and violence if necessary. You know, it's pure thuggery. People should understand, under the UN Charter, which Trump's deputy chief of staff called a nicety, it happens to be the international law, not for the gangsters in the White House, but for the rest of humanity. It says under Article 2, Section 4, all members shall refrain in their international relations from the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state, or in any other manner inconsistent with the purposes of the United Nations. So this is where we are right now, Glenn. I think, of course, we just went through this with Venezuela, brazen, gross threats followed by an invasion, a kidnapping of the president and the first lady, and a claim by the United States that it runs Venezuela, including stealing oil off of tankers and sending that to the United States, with Donald Trump declaring that the money goes to him. So this kind of brazenness and lawlessness is part of our scene right now. And Besant says, okay, there are Treasury sanctions. And if you look at a speech that I gave at the Economic Club of New York last March, I said that I believed the Iranian currency was on the verge of collapse, that if I were an Iranian citizen, I would take my money out. President Trump ordered Treasury and our OFAC division, Office of Foreign Asset Control, to put maximum pressure on Iran. And it's worked, because in December, their economy collapsed. We saw a major bank go under. The central bank has started to print money. There is dollar shortage. They are not able to get imports. And this is why the people took to the streets. So this is economic statecraft. No shots fired, and things are moving in a very positive way here. It's an amazing statement. So amazing that the New York Times didn't dare to report it. The Washington Post didn't dare to report it. Because what Besant is explaining is that the United States has used its financial means to bring down the government, to bring people out on the streets, to bring mass unrest. And things are going in a very positive way, says Mr. Besant. So the vulgarity of it is so stunning that, of course, the mainstream media won't even touch it. But what they do is run stories every day about the mismanagement, the corruption, the economic collapse, the suffering of the people, without saying that our Treasury Secretary explained that's the American game. And I have spoken to people recently explaining, yes, they cannot get paid for their oil because of what the United States is doing. The payments don't come. Everybody's under sanctions. Everybody's under threat. Every bank in the world refuses to handle any of the transactions. That's the U.S. weaponization of the dollar. And the design is to create chaos, to create bank failures, to create a currency collapse, to bring people out on the streets. As Diesen says, this is why the people took to the streets. So he even gives the chain of causation and blesses it. It's moving in a very positive way here. Okay, if this is the kind of world that people think we're going to be safe in, I'm sorry to say they're going to find that this is the absolute route to annihilation and disaster. This is pure gangsterism against every principle. And why Merz is a party to the gangsterism, or the Europeans are a party to the gangsterism, beats the hell out of me, I have to say, because they were also parties to the negotiation of the JCPOA. And they watched how the United States killed it. So they know the truth, but they don't speak the truth.
So if you really care about the Iranians, you will advocate for the bombing of it. I mean, this is how perverse, but this is with all wars. If you care about the Syrians, you would call for the toppling of Assad. If you care about Ukrainians, you would keep the war going forever. It's just, it's so vile.
Yes, but what's interesting is that if you care for the Iranians, then you might pay attention to what Diesen himself said, which is that they're out to hurt the Iranians. That's the goal, to hurt them so much that people pour out to the streets. And then when it happens, and there's violence and so forth, and much of it false flags and stoked by provocateurs and by Mossad and so forth, then Diesen says it's moving in a very positive way here. By the way, he had a little smirk on his face. He could not resist the smirk as he finished that last sentence. It was just an added touch of vulgarity. People should understand who Diesen is, by the way. He's our Treasury Secretary. You might think that this means he knows something about the macroeconomy, or that he knows about fiscal policy, or he's a tax policy expert. No, it has nothing to do with that. He is a hedge fund operator whose claim to fame is working with George Soros to destroy the British pound more than a decade ago. And that's what brought him when the pound was attacked, in the 1992, I guess it is. That's his credentials. Here's a man who can destroy currencies. So this is so vile and flagrant that, again, it's not worth reporting. I believe the UN Security Council should be forced to meet immediately and stay in meetings and take its responsibility, which is unique in the world, to stop this and to say clearly to the United States, to the President of the United States, no, you cannot even threaten that way, much less make an attack. The threat itself is a gross violation of the UN Charter.
Yeah, I fear that it can't be prevented anymore, though, if all these capabilities are built up, and the only way to avoid it, according to Trump, is a deal which essentially is non-existent. It's hard to see what else they can go for.
Yeah, Trump sometimes backs down if he faces really a wall of opposition. In fact, he often backs down. He hasn't faced that wall right now, but I wouldn't stop trying to create the wall of opposition up to the moment, and even after, but up to the moment where Trump recklessly pulls the trigger. It hasn't happened yet, and God help us, there must be someone in Europe that has a brain left that, if only you were in charge, Glenn, but there must be someone in power that has some minimal sense of responsibility for humanity.
大家好，我是主播周玉琴。很多的朋友告诉我们，选择原版的太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌，它添加有羽衣甘蓝，健康再加分。而有睡眠困扰的朋友们，赶快选择蓝色包装这一款晚安加强版，绝对是更有感。每日克菲尔，时刻美好 ，Good Feel Good， 请上快点购为健康下单，而且要记得输入推荐代码，有额外的折扣优惠。太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌基础版、晚安加强版，新包装改版，内容不变，抽取更方便。要吃就吃最好的。